Pearl is finally out in the UK and is the prequel to the film X. This is once again directed by Ty West, who made the previous film and who also wrote it, but this time with the leading star Mia Goth. Mia Goth, who was also in X, plays the lead character Maxine, and who also played the older version of Pearl, which I did not know until a friend of mine told me after I watched X. The plot of Pearl is set in 1918. A young woman on the brink of madness pursues a stardom in a desperate attempt to escape the drudgery, isolation, and lovelessness of life on a parent's farm. I very much enjoyed X when it came out, like literally last year now. It was a neat representation about the American dream, jealousy, fame, and aging. I did find though when the horror does kick in, it did kind of feel like a jump scare fest, but it was still a pretty neat horror film. Now regarding Pearl, I honestly enjoyed this much more than X. Starting off with Mia Goth's performance, which I thought was phenomenal. She does an excellent job playing as someone who is trying not to lose it, and with the fantastic pacing of the transformation into madness was done very well. For example, there is this scene when she delivers this very long monologue to another character, and from her performance it felt and looked honest and believable. Then there is that shot of her trying to keep that honest smile going, then it transforms into her looking a bit upset, and then eventually she looks insane. Hats off to Mia Goth showing these mixture of emotions while the closing credits were rolling, and for that long as well. It was a very impressive performance from Mia Goth, and this has honestly got to be the best of her career. The film did a good job at showing some nice references from films such as Carrie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and for some reason, The Wizard of Oz? Possibly, it would have to be that scarecrow scene. Pearl did have some matching themes from X for sure, but there was also some interesting themes about growing up with an unsupportive and difficult family, isolation, pandemics, war, and fame, as well wanting change for the better, which all showed very well from the perspective of the character Pearl and why she becomes the person she is in X. There was some pretty decent kills, some gore, and some fantastic makeup, especially when there's a character who gets burnt, which looked pretty brutal. I loved that we see the colour red a lot in Pearl, when we see it on the barn and the colour dress that she is wearing, such as passion and excitement when Pearl goes for the audition that could change her life forever, her love towards the projectionist and her boyfriend who is out fighting in the war, and of course violence, anger, rage and blood towards the people that have let her down, then becoming a danger towards the people that she has hurt and killed. Pearl was wonderfully well shot. The cinematography really captures the colourful scenery and feel, compared to X, which showed the complete opposite of colours from the environment. In addition towards the tone and the excellent over-the-top score, it presents that classic and old-fashioned horror film feeling. My only issue with Pearl was this sloppy chase sequence. Now of course without spoiling I won't say who Pearl does change, but the way it was performed from the person, it looked and felt feebleness. There was just no honesty or effort from the character trying to escape the danger from Pearl. So overall, it was a strange moment. I do think a lot of people will feel Pearl is a familiar and predictable film because of the events leading up to X, but it's one of those films where I do feel like we need to see the perspective and backstory of the character Pearl and the huge difference we see in 1918. To be more specific, showing the difficulty of Pearl wanting to become famous and make a change, being brought up by a very difficult family, and the uncertain events that are happening around the world. Compared to X, set in 1979, which was a time where it was much more easier for access and for the characters like Maxine to have freedom of what they want to achieve. I could be wrong on this argument, but this is just my opinion of seeing the film, so it's best to see the film for yourself. Overall, Pearl was very much a focused backstory that was shown and told very well. It has a pretty familiar structure, but from the incredible performance by Mia Goth, it looked and felt true to who Pearl is going to become for the rest of her life. Until the third film, which is now going to become a trilogy. The film that I'm talking about is Maxine with a triple X in the title. I believe it is coming next year, and I do think they are starting to film next month. So until Maxine, based on my Letterboxd rating, I'm going to give Pearl a 4-star out of 5. Thank you so much for watching, and look out for more videos coming your way.